Hi guys, hi everybody. I'm an alcoholic. My name is Tina. Thank you so much. Carl, I don't know what I was gonna probably bop you about, but you probably deserved it if you ask me. But I really wouldn't know at this point. Um, oh, you guys, I'm super sad today. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to get through this the best I can. So I had a girl that I sponsored for many years, over 8, and they started smoking CBD, which the not THC stuff, and then accidentally got the THC stuff, and then of course accidentally shot heroin into their veins. And anyway, they found her septic, and she was brain dead, and they just pronounced her dead just a little bit ago. So there's like a ton of women out there. That's what AA does. They suit up and show up. And I'm super sad. Like she just didn't realize she didn't have a choice anymore, you know? Everybody thinks they have another, and they do, they have another relapse, but they don't have another sobriety date. Not all of them. So the last time I talked with her, she said that she had enough Narcan and she knew exactly how much heroin to shoot. And you know, the thing that I know about Alcoholics Anonymous is, like, we're not in the sales game, you know. I'm not here to pitch you a line. I'm here to let you know about my experience, strength, and hope. And somehow, hopefully, that'll transmit that you're going to want to have something different than what we came in with. And she wanted it a couple of times. And then, you know, said if it was, she had to pick, if it was her kid or the heroin, she would pick heroin every time. And it brings it right back. So anyway, so I'm a hurting unit. I feel incredibly sad to hear that news, because she had the answer, you know, she had the key. You know, a friend of mine, Billy N, he speaks all over the place, and was one of our Class B trustees, which is a boozer trustee. And he always talks about remembering the people that are in their last 30 days. And boy, if that isn't the truth, and I hope to God that her death sparks a new light in some of the people that she knows, and sparks a new light in some of you to be like, holy cow, this is life or death. Anyway, so I'm not here to tell her story, and I'm sorry, I don't cry pretty. I don't do anything really pretty. In fact, I'm a pretty genuine kind of gal. I am not LA quality. I don't have anything fake happening, and I swear a lot, and I don't do that from the podium out of respect of you and myself and AA. But I can tell you that I was a mean, nasty little critter when I got here. I was a foul-mouthed, fouled up, nasty person. And I came from a place in the Midwest. So I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or actually it's called Germantown, but you will have no idea where that is. So Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is what made us famous, was beer. So I don't know if any of you are not millennials, but if you're not, and you've ever heard of Schlitz beer, and Miller High Life and Pabst Blue Ribbon, all that, right? So we're a beer drinking country. And oh man, I grew up in a real small town, and just 30 minutes west of, or northwest of Milwaukee. And I can tell you this about my childhood. It was not typical as of today's standards, but very extreme typical of alcoholism standards back in the 80s. I grew up with a dad who was a user and abuser, and he was very, very violent. I grew up without having a childhood, so I grew up super fast. If I wasn't drinking brandy out of the bottle, I was always had a cold. You know, I need that NyQuil. And We always had NyQuil on the shopping list, my sister and I. And, you know, that has 25% alcohol in it. And man, we would suck the life out of that. And my dad was a whiskey drinker, and we used to tell ourselves, don't drink whiskey. It'll make you mean like dad, you know? It's so funny because I'm sharing, and even my dad and my uncle are here because I've been a hurting unit. My back went out yesterday. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff, you know, and I just have so much support from where I came from. Oh my God, I totally forgot to tell my digits. I always tell my digits because I don't know, I'm sure you guys are spiritually fit. I am not. I judge everybody. I want the digits, man. So April 19th, 1984 is when I got sober. I am 51 years old. Yeah, I ride a Harley in Wisconsin. What? I've been sober way more than half of my life. I've got 36 years. The girls call it the dirty 30s. And yes, I would agree, they are the dirty 30s. I just celebrated on Friday my 27th anniversary of being married to my husband, who has more time than me. And let me tell you guys, I still love him. I lust him. He's got the greatest butt you will ever see in AA, according to me. And, are you coming up here? Okay. And I absolutely love being married and being in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've been doing this rodeo for a long time. I didn't start out great, which you're going to hear, but yeah, it's crazy. I was 14 turning 15. I was in a psychiatric ward, and I was only going to give it 30 days. And I can tell you that I fell in love with the magic of the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I fell in love with it. So I was young, and by the time I'm 12, I'm just going to ramp up. By the time I'm 12, I learned how to drive a car, and my father was extremely abusive. I've already told you that, and I'm going to let you know right now that if I wanted to do something, consequences never took a priority in my life. I don't know about yours, but I did not care about consequences. What I cared about was getting what I wanted when I wanted it, and I always wanted it now. And then on top of that, I want what you have because I hate me, so I always wanted had. And so by the time I'm 12 years old, my girlfriend teaches me how to back out of our house in a car on a landline that had like a 25-foot long cord, you know, and I would be talking to her in the car, and I had to hang up. I didn't have a cell phone to go to. And I learned how to pick up all the kids in the neighborhood, because when you don't even have a license to drink yet, you have to do a lot of stuff in order to get the money or the funding to get whatever you want. So eventually you will run out of time and out of places and out of whatever to steal from, because they will catch on. But if you're innovative like me and my crew, who love to wear black and steal in the middle of the night and steal people's cars, well, heck, you were in with our crew, and our crew was made up of the misfits. I was always that undergirl, you know, like if everybody picked on you, I was the tough chick that would stand up for you. But if everybody liked you, I didn't like you. Like, I'm just not going there. And so I never, you know, I didn't fit in. I didn't feel good. I never, ever knew what was going to happen in my house. And so by the time I'm 12, I'm already stealing the car. Consequences do not matter because I'm stealing Little John. So my dad's name is Little John, or John, and Pops, whatever. And I have Sergeant Sue, and then I have a sister and a brother who are both older than me. And let me tell you, my drinking career was short, fast, hard, and I was completely addicted by the time I was about 13. I see people today with their kids that are 10, 11, and they're just kids, you know. I don't recall that. I remember being on my own from a very early age. There are no pictures of me. And when I honestly looked at it and have done many different fourth and fifth steps, I literally, nobody knows where I was, and I don't know where I was. So how I managed to get around and do things, I don't know. My saving grace and how I knew that things could be different at some point, 3 blocks away was my grandparents, and my aunt, who was mentally handicapped, lived with them. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I stole from her all the time, nonstop. She loved blackberry brandy, and guess what? So did I. I loved it warm, cold, on the rocks, in my pants, on top of my head, in my mouth, projectile puking. I was a projectile puker, which, as you probably guys know, I wasn't very favored at the parties. I loved to cause trouble. I loved to either laugh hysterically or beat the crap out of somebody. I was maybe 95 pounds, 99 pounds, soaking wet. And I was a scrapper. And my dad, when we would get home from school, he would say, he would move all the furniture and you knew you were in trouble. He was a blue collar guy, worked construction all his life, and he sounded like Yosemite Sam. I don't know if you guys remember that cartoon, but he had red hair, red handlebar mustache, and he would be like, all right, you're either going to teach a lesson or learn a lesson. Which one you going to do? And that's how I grew up. And the reason I'm telling you this is because that's how my mentality always was. It had nothing to do with my disease of alcoholism. I found out later that I have a disease, and I'll get into that. But what I found out even stronger than that is that I have some old fixed ideas that are very, very hard to get rid of, that are instilled in me from the time I was a little wee child. And there is no getting them different unless I come to you. And when he would say, you're either going to teach a lesson or learn a lesson, I knew exactly what he was saying. I'm going to teach you a lesson. And by God, you better be teaching that same lesson, because if I see you come here hurt, you're in big trouble. He didn't like failure, and neither did I. And so I was a scrapper, a fighter, foul-mouthed little kid. And I had no regard for other people. I did a lot of fighting, and I did it dirty as dirty could be because I was little. I would jump on them. I would grab anything I could. And quite honestly, I don't think I've ever shared this in an open meeting before, but I had beaten somebody almost to death. And I was almost up for manslaughter. My whole family loved to drink beer. We loved cooking brats. And we loved having corn on the cob. Yep, I'm a Midwesterner. That's what we did. And we did it at my parents' house because they had a big pool in the backyard, a big above ground pool. And in the beginning, everybody, you know, I was from the era of Tony, Tanya, and Tina, and my cousins are all three months apart, and they're Leah, Larry, and Laurel. Everybody was named the same name. So all you could hear is a T or an L, and somebody would get screamed at. And the next thing you know, the brothers are fighting, and it's full on. And I didn't know if we were going to have the greatest time of our life or the worst. I didn't care. I was ready for the fight, and I was ready for the drinks. And we would steal as much booze as we could. And of course, Schlitz beer. I mean, that was what we drank. So I didn't have a long period of sobriety. It says in our book, which was very comforting to me, that women, perhaps young people and women, become potential alcoholics faster than they even knew. And that was my story. I could drink people under the table, and then I could have a couple beers or a couple shots and I'd be out. And I didn't understand this whole disease of alcoholism. I had no idea. But what ended up happening is one night I end up talking my dad into letting me out. I'm about to start high school. Yep, I'm about to start high school, freshman year. Freshman year is coming. I could smoke on campus. I know you guys are like, what? You can smoke? Yeah, I was smoking on the campus. I had a punch so I could smoke. Freshman year hadn't even started yet. I'm hitting all the senior parties before it's time to go in and serve my penance of going to high school. And I only had to go until I was 15, and then I get to choose whether I stay or go. My brother and sister both had dropped out of school at that point. And I also got that option if I wanted it. By this time, I'm drinking almost every night, if not every night. I'm doing things that little girls shouldn't do. I'm running away. I love when they say, that you switch from scotch to brandy. I thought, why would you do that? Just take both. And then they would say things like, I did a geographical, and I thought, oh, I never did that. I just ran away. Like it didn't comprehend. I couldn't comprehend it because I was so young when I got here. And I thought, this stuff is for the real alcoholics. See, I'm not a real alcoholic, I'm just tattering on the fence line. I just didn't learn how to drink right. I just should have done it a little bit differently. See, that was always my thing. And I would always tell them, no, I'm not going to get drunk this time. And I won't have the police around because I won't be a runaway. And it was the same thing over and over and over again until I started stopping trucks in the middle of Main Street in Menominee Falls. I would stop trucks. And what I found out really fast is that at age 13, I started getting puppies. And if you wore certain things just right, Pat Benatar was really hot. So I would wear my makeup really dark, and I would put my puppies out as much as I could. And then if I would rub a guy's leg, I knew that as soon as things popped up, I could do whatever I wanted. And so with that type of mentality, I started to get whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And if they had a few teeth, I was like, hell yes, we're going to be friends. Yes. Teeth, you have 2 of them, I'll take you. And that's pretty much what happened at my last drunk, starting my first drunk. And the only difference is that I got younger guys at the end. And well, I had the older one and his brother, and they had a few teeth. There was only like 2 missing farmer boys, you know? And I remember getting wasted with cold turkey, and I don't remember the rest. And I can tell you solidly, I was speaking for about 20 years now. I've been able to share my story and to tell people what's been going on in my life. And for about 20 years of that, telling my story, I really thought that my vice principal had saved my life. But you know what? I was always wrong. I'm still wrong to this day. Thank God. Thank God I'm still wrong to this day. And I went to my 20-year class reunion, and I found out it was my best friend, the one that I used with the entire time. She was the one that found me face down in a ditch with water and my clothes down around my ankles. And I didn't know that. And I was 22 years sober, and I found that out, and I had been saying it wrong. And does it really matter? The point is that in my head, see, it's always in my head, you know, that alka logic. I always think I'm right. And sometimes that can kill you. And I started using that night. I had lied, manipulated, whatever, stole, rubbed a guy's leg, knew that I was going to get whatever I wanted, got the booze, and I don't remember. And I woke up. I remember hearing my mom say she's out of a coma. That's all I really remember. And then I was in the back seat of a cop car when I came to, drunk out of my mind. And I don't know about you, but when I'm drunk, I think I have the right to not have the law matter. I think I have a right to discredit anybody of authority. And I love to give them that jarring, snarky attitude. And of course, I was foul-mouthed and calling them mother effers and being extremely disrespectful and spitting and doing whatever it took. And I remember thinking to myself, I got to get out of this. If little John finds me handcuffed, I'm in big trouble. And all I know is that I had a really bad idea. I executed that bad idea, and the cops didn't like that very much. And they proceeded to let me know that through a good beating. And they dragged me up a hill by my hair. And I had been hurt before. I mean, physical, I've been in a lot of physical altercations. And I can tell you that after a first couple of hits, I don't feel anything. And quite honestly, at the point I was in, I couldn't feel them, and I couldn't feel the hits, and I didn't really care. Because at that point, just like my friend, I would have traded anything for not feeling. I would have traded anything to feel numb. I can tell you, just like the book says, on page 33, it says, young people are going to quit, and most of them don't because they don't want to. That was me. I just didn't want to, you know. I knew I was alcoholic after I was listening for a while. I didn't want to quit using. I really, really thought that at some point things were going to be different. And then the other thing is, I couldn't do it on my own, and I didn't realize that I had lost that choice. See, I was allergic to alcohol, and when you're allergic to something, it means that if I take the same amount as somebody else, that a physical reaction happens differently to my body. And my dad is allergic to strawberries, and when he eats strawberries, his tongue gets really thick, and he starts talking funny, and we love it when he eats a strawberry, and we begged him all the time to eat a strawberry, so he'd talk like an idiot, and he wouldn't eat a strawberry, and he wouldn't eat one in another state. He wouldn't eat a generic one. He wouldn't eat a new one. He wouldn't eat an organic one. Like, he won't eat strawberries. He's allergic to them. And I can eat as many strawberries as I want, and I'm not. And I don't get a weird tongue, and I don't get red in my face. See, I'm not allergic. I can eat that easily. And my buddy Mark is allergic to peanuts, and his ears get really large. In fact, I seen him have an allergic reaction. I was dying laughing because his ears are already like taxi doors, and then they just got huge. He was fine. I'm not mean anymore. Um, Anywho, so I get what an allergy is today. I know that once I started, I had no control over the amount of alcohol that I would drink. And then the other fact is that you guys, I love to drink. And you know what's so great about our stories in the big book is that when Bill starts talking to us more about alcoholism, or even if we want to find out and do the qualifier on page 21, if I have those symptoms, the thing that I love more than anything about Alcoholics Anonymous is one, that they can't tell me if I'm alcoholic or not. Even Bill couldn't tell me. That was the whole problem. Why people were going into the insane asylums is because they couldn't figure out like the combo. And you know what's so great about that is like he gives us this well-written description of these different symptoms that we may see. But he has no definition of the word alcoholism. None. And then he gives you all these things and he's like, hey, let's go on this theory that one alcoholic talking to another alcoholic is going to give you some kind of relief. And I thought, how does that work? I've talked to drunks. I surrounded myself with losers like me. In fact, if you're anything like me, you surrounded yourself with losers that were worse than you so that you could compare yourself and go, at least I'm not as bad as Carl. Right? At least I'm not him. I had that girl. I had Melissa Freilich. She was my girl. And Bill's guy was Abby Thatcher. And if it wasn't for that miracle, right? I mean, there's a lot of miracles that go before that, but boy, I get Bill in every sense of the word. I don't have a definition of what my disease is. I only have this description that gives me a whole lot of symptoms. And then on top of that, how humble he is, he says, and there's probably a million more. There could be a whole book written about it, but we don't have time for that because we're dying by the droves, especially in COVID. And then he gets into this thing about more about alcoholism and how there's all these mental twists and we're going to have blank spots and we have to be aware of our mental twists. And if you're not aware of your mental twists, you will get to that point again where you are either going to take the spiritual solution or drink again or use again or whatever your thing is. Let me tell you, I hate old timers that yell at me about talking about drugs. Are you kidding me? Page 7 of the big book talks about drugs. Bill's story talks about taking sedatives, liquid morphine. Study the book. They talk about using drugs because, my God, what else are we going to do besides use drugs and drink when we're alcoholic? It's what we do. It demands it. Our disease demands that we pay attention to it. See, I don't know. My symptoms were so crazy. I just thought I was, they call them now a unicorn. I just thought I was unique. I thought I was too young. I was the youngest around that area. I got sober and there was like 6 old farts. And let me tell you about my first meeting. It's not very pretty, as you can imagine. I was quite the handful. I literally get to this Alano club called the Northwest Alano Club. It's in the middle of nowhere. If I'm to go anywhere walking wise, my parents would drop me off. I was in this mental institution for about 2 weeks, and they said, in order for you to come home and not go to a foster house or go into, some kind of controlled living, I had to go to this outpatient treatment center and hit a meeting every single night, no matter what, whether I had homework or not. And I said, okay. And of course I said, okay, I'm going to go to my natural surroundings so I can F off and do whatever I need to do and lie and create the havoc that I need to do. But 30 days in, I was so proud of myself that I had 30 days and I heard these old farts. I come to this meeting and there's 6 old farts in flannel shirts playing some kind of game that they play in jail. I have no idea what it's called. I still don't play that game and I love cards, but I refuse. And I don't drink coffee. I refuse because I'm that girl, And I came in there and see, I didn't realize that my solution had been taken from me, and I'm 30 days dry. I'm like a hot wire. I'm either going to teach a lesson or learn a lesson. And so what do I start doing? I start teaching lessons because I have nothing else to take care of this itch that I need to scratch. Like I told you, my alcoholism demands my attention, and boy, I'm itching. I'm 30 days clean. I have nothing, no solution. You know what I heard? I heard put the plug in the jug. Meetings makers make it, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I wasn't making it. And when I was sitting in meetings like that, I couldn't even hear them because I was too busy telling them to F off and running out the door. And they would say, keep coming back. And I would be like, F you, down the hall. And yes, my nickname was F and Tina for the longest time. I get it. I didn't catch it at first, but I get it. I was a maniac. You know, those old farts, they locked me out of that club for I don't know how many years. And then I started learning the traditions just by verbal. I didn't read them or anything. I was just like, you can't kick me out. I have the right to be here. Blah, blah, blah. Third tradition, fifth tradition, primary purpose. You let me in. And 5 minutes before the meeting, after I was screaming and swearing at them, and I would come in huffing and puffing. I'd be so exhausted. I'd sit there, you know. And they would encourage me to smoke. And I thought, God bless these people. God bless them. I love them. There was an old lady that would come every so often. And I don't know if you guys remember this, whoever could go to smoking meetings, but she used to ash and she would smoke and that ash would get really long. You ever watch one of those people? And she was like real shaky because she'd always be out drinking again. And I'd watch that ash in that meeting like it was the thing that I was hanging on to for life. She died sober. That's what I remember about her. So let me catch you up. I'm 4 years dry. I have no solution in my life. I have no idea that I'm suffering from a disease that has a twofold nature. See, I was hearing things like I have a spiritual malady. So if I just had a spiritual malady, then church should have taken care of me. But I had just come from a cult. I'm not going to get into that. I was into Satan worshiping before I got into Alcoholics Anonymous. So you can imagine what kind of girl I was when they wanted to pray. It didn't work real well for a girl like me. But I can tell you this, I'm 4 years dry, and I had heard some old timer at 6 months say that she won't make it a year. And I thought, don't you tell me I won't make it a year. You want to talk about willpower? See, in my head, willpower deduced, hi guys, my willpower deduced the fact that I was alcoholic because I didn't have enough willpower. That was my deduction in my alkalogic. What I found out later on, as we're going to talk about in the book, is that self-knowledge has nothing to do with it, and neither does willpower. What I was suffering was from a disease that's twofold. It's a absolute physical allergy coupled with this mental obsession. And when they say the phenomenon of craving, phenomenon means something I cannot describe. So once I take a drink, this is how Milty said it, right, Deb? Once I take a drink, the drink takes a drink and the drink takes me. I take a drink, the drink takes a drink, the drink takes me. And I understood that. And Milty also said, how do I keep it unless I give it away? What are you talking about? If I have $2 in my pocket and I give it to you, I'm broke. And I thought, yes, Milty, tell them I don't need to pay. And then he said something that was magic to my ears. He said, a windfall comes onto me every time I give. And I thought, a windfall? Well, what does that mean? Do I get that windfall? What happens, right? So when I come to Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm very ill-educated about my disease. The people that I'm getting sober with, it's no fault of theirs. They love me the best way they could. And at 4 years sober, I was ready to take a gun to many people's heads because I'm more homicidal than I am suicidal. I was talking my way into bars because I just wanted to be 18. I just wanted to be a normal young girl. I just wanted to be in high school and go to the freaking bars and go dancing. I didn't want to drink. I'm fine. I don't get the problem here. And I would have listened to anybody. I would have listened to a dog herder if that would have been the case, right? But instead I listened to my girlfriend, and she says, I have the cure. And you know what? My ears perked up because I was in a lot of pain. And I didn't realize that taking away my solution creates just nothing but havoc, pain, remorse, guilt, feelings of shame, abandonment. Like, I can't tell you the pain to the depths of my soul that I was living in. Dry. I can't even pronounce it, because what happens to people like me is they either do one of two things. They either pick up or they die trying to pick up. Or let's go to the two alternatives in the book, right? On page 44, it says, I get two choices. I can either blot out the existence and die early like Becky, getting fed, boy, girl, having a diaper on because she's shitting herself. You want a bottom like that? Or I can accept spiritual help. Like, those are my choices. They're even more important to me. I would love to know who has less than a year. I would love to see that. Well, I want you guys to know, when I had less than a year, I thought I had a lot more relapses in me. And I am just the same as you, away from a drink. I have a hell of a lot more to lose. A hell of a lot more people I would damage, hurt, cut up, and rip through like a tornado. You see how important it is to a girl like me who hasn't had a drink for 36 years. Dudes, I have this weird mind that gets mental twists that tells me, if only I knew the right outcome, if only I had the right car, all these human things I put my dependence on, they are all to fail. They will fail you over and over and over again, and you'll keep blaming them. But I'm here to let you know they'll fail you. And out of my bitter experience of 4 years clawing myself, trying to hang on, I called those 6 old farts from that Alano Club. You know, the east side of Milwaukee where I was living, where it's cool, it's 25 minutes, I know, from Menominee Falls, using the speed limit. Those old boys were there with trucks in 20 minutes flat. They had talked to my parents. I was 18 years old, and my parents said I could live with them until I'm 19, never to return. They couldn't bring my clothes in because they were filled with bugs. I was living like a pig. I had cockroaches in all of my clothes. I had higher heels than I had the highest heel you could possibly get, 4-inch heels, which was very in at the time of the 80s. Right, Carl? And your purse matched your shoes. That's all you cared about. See, I'm the jaywalker, even in sobriety, because I didn't know what my issue was, you know? And like, my parents said I could come there if I get a sponsor. And, you know, I was that girl that would say, I'm not getting a home group. I like to be mysterious. I'm young. And my sponsor didn't care. She was like, well, that's fine, but you're going to be here every Monday. No secret about that. Sitting right next to me. And I thought, my God, you seem so rough, you know? But quite honestly, I was ready to do whatever they said, because I was dying from the disease and I hadn't picked up a drink in 4 years. And I just didn't understand. I just didn't get it. Were you guys having special meetings? Like, why don't I understand my own disease? Am I stupid? Am I slow? What's going on? And my sponsor said, Tina, I want you to do a couple things. You promised to do that, and I'll sponsor you and I'll take you on a new journey. And I said, absolutely. And she said I was to make my bed every morning. And I'm like, did you not hear that I have bugs in my clothes and I have to live with little John? Like, why do I need to make my bed that has nothing to do with what's going on? And she said, I know. So make your bed. And then when you get up, get on your knees and let God know that you need some help. And I said, I'm not getting on my knees. And she said, okay, he'll meet you where you are. right? Step 2, he'll meet you where you are. And I said, okay, I'll tell him I'm an alcoholic every day. And then she said I had to read the 3rd step prayer and the 7th step prayer. And I didn't know what those prayers were. I only knew the Lord's Prayer after learning it after a while being in AA. I had never heard that prayer before. I didn't know those kind of prayers. I heard prayers were terrible. The devil will come in. So I got to know on page 63 that I started my day with the 3rd step prayer and the 7th step prayer, and I started praying every day. And do you know what happened? Within 3 months, I moved into my own apartment right before I turned 19. And do you know what? I got my own car. I was having some legal issues with my car, which I have paid the price for heavily on. And I started doing things called the steps. Labeled in our book. Did you know that? They're like labeled like step 1, here it is. And I didn't know that. And a sponsor went through the big book and said, hey, Tina, I need you to write down a couple of things in this book and take some notes because you're not a taker, are you? And I was like, well, yes, I am. You told me not to lie. I'm a taker. I'm a total taker. And she said, but you're also going to give it back. And I said, yeah. And so I wrote a whole lot of notes and I started going through this thing called Alcoholics Anonymous, and I became a member. And not only was I a member, I became an active member. And at my home group, I had to have a job. And if they didn't assign me a job because it's a cool contest and I'm not very cool because I get an attitude, then I just have to do stuff whether I'm asked or not. Like show up early. No one wants to hear your mouth, Tina, in the middle of talking. Nobody wants to hear the F-bomb, Tina. Could you put your puppies away, Tina? See, but here's the problem with me. I don't know about you guys. You guys are probably spiritual in LA. I heard you guys are real spiritual. You know, our literature, when you read about Dr. Bob and the good old timers, they have a split. Did you guys know that? That the West goes into spirituality and apparently the East doesn't. And the West follows somebody who's not even alcoholic, which I love that story. Anywho, the reason I'm saying this is because I didn't realize that if you're alcoholic anywhere where I am and you have an ego like mine, 1, I'm an ear hustler. 2, I absolutely will do things until it causes pain. And some of you are like, no, that isn't me. Let me give you a fine example of that just recently. Like as in a few months ago. I get sick, I go to the doctor. My doctor looks right at me, Dr. Jick, she loves me. She goes, hey, I'm going to give you an antibiotic. I want you to take it for 7 days, Tina. How many days did I ask you to take it for? And I said, 7. And she goes, take it for 7 days, Tina. So guess what? I get home, I start taking it. 5 days later, I feel great. 3 months later, I get sick and I blame my doctor. I go back to Dr. Jick and I'm like, I'm sick again. I am tired of seeing you. And she goes, how many pills did you take, Tina? Oh, what? I said, I took the pills. Did you take all of them as prescribed, all 7 days? No, I took them for 5 days. I felt better. I didn't take the last 2 pills. Well, Tina, there lies your problem. If you would have followed the directions, you probably would be feeling better. Let me give you a 7-day prescription. Do you guys know what? After the 3rd time of going in there and her humiliating me again, I was like, I'm going to take all 7. I swear to God, I'm taking all 7. That's all there is to it. It's not because I'm not a pill popper, right? It's because after 5 days, I feel better, and self-knowledge knows that if I feel better, I'm going to be fine and I'll be just fine. No, see, I'm the kind of girl that learns through spiritual experience. Hence why the one and only thing that they promise us in this entire big book is one thing and one thing only that we're going to get. That's a spiritual experience. That's it. Hopefully it will give you enough oomph to drag you across that line. You don't want to do things that you don't want to do. Hopefully you have cheerleaders that are cheering you on every day, because the real work is hard, it's uncomfortable, and we don't want to do it, and we surely don't want to do it for 7 days. Screw that 7-day thing. My mom, though, do you know my mom, she'll put ice in her wine, and I used to tell her she abuses alcohol all the time. I'm like, Susan, we don't put alcohol and ice together. My mom will go to the doctor. They'll say, hey, Susan, you have this wrong or whatever. She'll change her entire schedule, family life, everything. to make sure she follows the directions. Did you know normal people do that? I didn't know that. But watching her, I see her do it all the time. And I think, what a loser. You feeling better though, aren't you? I'm going to do that too, Mom. I swear to God, I'm going to do it. See, I learn through spiritual experiences, which makes so much sense to me, about how this disease really gets you. And then on top of that, let's just talk about willpower, because one of my sponsees just walked in. I want to share this story with you real quick. So I used to think that alcoholism was about willpower, like being sober was about willpower, because, I didn't have that relationship with the God that I understand today. See, I didn't realize that it came from within and that God is doing everything for me once I put my dependence on him and not other things, worldly things, people things, human things, chaos, calamity, as they call it. But here's what I know about. So I take some meds because I have a back condition that I got diagnosed with 4 years ago. And I swore to God I would never be that girl. And because of it, I can't poop. Can't do it. I don't know why. I have issues with it. It's embarrassing, but there it is. So I tell my little sponsee, who is only, were you 20 or 21 at the time? Okay, 20. Let's just get that out there. I'm 50 at the time. She is 20 at the time. Okay, I can't see. So this is going to be my excuse. This is my saving grace moment, saving face moment. She says to me, you should get some Ducalax. Do you know what Ducalax is? It's a pooper pill. I don't know what they call it back by you guys, but it's a pooper pill. And so we go and get Ducalax because I am bloated and hurting. And finally, I'm going to take somebody's suggestion. And it's a 20-year-old sponsee who is brand new sober. And I'm like, I'm dying. What did the directions say? I can't read them. She says you can take up to 1 or 3 pills. What do we decide on? The 20-year-old says, you got to take 3. I take 3 pooping pills, Ducalax. They're very small. And I thought, you're probably right on that. I took all 3. And at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm dying, thinking, I didn't know if I was going to throw up or poop my pants, I'm sitting on the, you know what, and I'm crying and rocking, thinking to myself, did I just listen to a 20-year-old tell me how many pooping pills? You cannot will yourself not to poop. You just can't do it. I could not will myself not to go to the bathroom that day. Oh my God, I thought I was going to die. I just want you to know she's staying right here. I will never do that again, ever do that again. However, at the time, it's a story like that is my willpower to a T. I will try to hang on to the very depths of my soul until I can't any longer. And when I took those pills, I just couldn't any longer. And that's exactly how alcoholism treats me. It will allow me to, as long as I want to be uncomfortable, as long as my stomach starts to get as long as I'm not believing that the God that has kept me sober is going to continue to ride that path with me. When I think I have the right ideas, that's when I think about those pooping pills, because man, that's when I get in the most trouble. Hi, my husband. All right, just to wrap this up, 36 years is a lot to cover in one short time frame with you guys. I've had ups and downs. I've been able to do a PSA at your general service office for Alcoholics. I got to do a few of them actually. Got to help out. I was one of the youngest women. F and Tina from Germantown in New York, sitting on the board. I was like, what? Like if I would have told you my aspirations, you would have laughed in my face, because they have not only gotten bigger and better, but God has provided beyond anything I could possibly imagine. I take the girls that I have in my loving life through all 12 steps, through the traditions. And I know that nobody likes to talk about the big C, but the cons. I think consistency is one of those things that has to become part of our literature again, and start to talk about how consistent are you going to meetings? How consistent are you doing with your prayers? I know that I had to go through a lot of pain and learn a lot of spiritual experiences, some of them good, some of them bad, but they all taught me. I know today that I try to be the best sister I can possibly be. And I have gone through everything from this been a rough year. I got to tell you, my year started off rough. I went to Florida in January after McHenry Soberfest, after all the fun. And I went into Florida, and in Florida, I drive a Harley, and we were all out on a bike ride. And one of my good friends died right in front of me. I rode with him as he was rolling. And, you know, if he would have walked with me, he would have said, Tina, accidents happen. And he died. He died in my arms. And I was real angry at God. Again, you know, like our relationships don't with God. Real happy with him at times. I'm real sad and I'm real discouraged at times. And I didn't understand how somebody so beautiful like Danny could die. And I'm so grateful that I keep praying to him, because I didn't pray for him for the first few weeks when I was in Florida, and I felt real lonely. And we were driving home from the funeral and everything to get to the funeral back from Florida into Milwaukee. And I said to my husband, I have to pray. I need to pray. And I need to do my commitments. And all I could hear was my sponsor, Polly, saying, Tina, we suit up whether it's convenient or whether it's inconvenient. We do service work whether it's fun or whether it's not fun. And so I knew I had stuff to do. And I got on my knees, because I can't do it any other way but plugging in. And my husband prayed with me. And that morning was the craziest morning of my life. I got a God shot, you know. I had picked out a picture with Danny probably 3 days beforehand. And that picture was in a TV thing. I happened to look, and it was the day I prayed. And I was begging for a sign that he was okay. And he was. I got my sign. And that's how Alcoholics Anonymous has been. Some of this stuff, I don't know if it's true or not. And some of these old timers, I think, are fools for what they do. And some of them talk about things like, I prayed until I got the best job in the world. And I thought, you're a liar. And then I started doing it, you know. And guess what? I got the best job in the world. So my girls are leaving. I love you. I hope this gets your ass to meetings. Oh, sorry for swearing. I love you.
I'm going to the meeting.
All right. They're going to the meeting. We're all going to the meeting. So anyway, to finish up, there was a really amazing thing. So I do this thing. It's a second step thing. And I do this study, because I already told you I don't learn easy, and my willpower is like I hang on until I can't hang on anymore. And I was raised in this really weird, well, it's considered a cult religion or a cult. And I was really struggling with God, and I was about 10 years sober, and I was sitting in the front row, and I was all slooped down, and my sponsor looked over. She was like, well, no wonder why you don't have any sponsees. And I thought, yeah, I don't even want what I have. I'm a piece of crap. You know how we beat the crap out of ourselves. And I got real busy. And I started doing things I didn't want to do, like going to the financial class and getting really humble and getting teachable again. And it's a requirement for me. Anyway, needless to say, I started praying to God, and God keeps pulling me through. And here's the crazy part. Like, I don't have to push that on anyone. My sister's older than me. She got sober when she was 15. However, she did relapse. They did not tell me that until I was in my 20s. Years of sobriety, because they were scared I would follow her, which I probably would have. It just still pisses me off. Anywho, so I have more time than her. And, you know, I've never used that as a weapon against her. And I'm very grateful for the teachings that I've had. Like, we're shoulder to shoulder daily. And my reprieve, and if you don't know what a reprieve is, you should look it up, because it's against torment, against torture, to push off torture. That's what a reprieve is. And they say that the only reprieve that I get, the only reprieve from the torture of my own self, is to work with other people and to have this contact with God. And so I have a real strong contact with him, and he loves me very much. And a couple months ago, with all this Zoom stuff going on, my sister said to me, Tina, will you take me through that second step assignment? Because I have a real hard time with God. You know, we were raised in this cult. And I said, absolutely, Tanya. And when we did the assignment, we were over Zoom. And this is a woman that doesn't say the word God, and she's been agnostic and borderline atheist for as long as I remember. And I got to meet her God that day. And that may not mean a whole lot to you, but this is from a woman that she pushed me out of a moving car. We hated each other. We used to beat the crap out of each other. Hurt people. We did not have a sane and sound life in that environment. And she was my friend at 9 years sober, but we weren't close. And at 36 years sober, she's my best friend. And she was the first person that needed to talk to me when her husband was died 2 years ago. And I flew out there to be her rock. And the first thing we did is we went to a meeting. See, my life is all about habit, and I didn't even know that. I like to be mysterious, you know. But the realistic thing is, like, I'm consistent, not only with meetings, not only with some of my friends, but with my sponsor. It's my job to get consistent with my sponsor. And I do that on a weekly basis. In fact, a little bit more than weekly lately. And I keep showing up, and I keep suiting up. And when they told me that I was going to have a life beyond anything that I could even dream of, I thought they were liars. And I'm here as living proof, F and Tina from Germantown, to let you know that, like, my life has been better than I've ever had, what I ever thought I was supposed to be. See, I was poor white trash, and that's what I was supposed to be. Not a woman that has an MBA, that just took care of her daughter. My daughter had cancer unexpectedly at the beginning of this year, right after Danny. Like, it has been a rough year, you know? And I keep getting in there, and I keep spreading love and letting people know that it's okay, whatever you're going through, that we're here together in this thing. And no matter what, like, I'm so grateful that Bill didn't say, hey, that we're going to recover from alcoholism. You know what he said? We're going to recover from a hopeless-minded body, because today I feel hopeless, that I don't know how to save people or give them the desperation of desire to get sober and stay sober. I don't know that. And I know it's time, but let me tell you this. I have the desperation. And if you have it, I hope to God you're not keeping it. I hope to God you're grabbing those people, even old timers, who's in their last 30 days. Thank you for my life. I wouldn't be here without you guys.